श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। सदाशिवसमारम्भाम् शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ताम् वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। In these 30 verses, very crisp verses and capsule-like verses of Upadesha Saaram, Ramana Maharishi begins to present all the sadhanas in life. So we have seen the Karma Yoga sadhana, Bhakti Upasana sadhanas, Japa sadhana, then Dhyanam, Chintanam sadhana, and with Bheda and Abheda sadhanam, all these, and Ashtanga Yoga, with the highlight on pranayama. Now, all these sadhanas are all purifying the mind and giving some degree of quietude, and that was called manolayam. But this manolayam is a temporary state only. But what it is doing, all the sadhanas are doing, is preparing the mind with yogyata, jnana yogyata. And then finally, in the last session, we started what is called the Arjava Marga. Arjava Marga is the direct path. What is the direct path? Jnana Yoga. And that is the path of self-inquiry. You know, this was perhaps the only Upadesha Bhagavan Ramana Maharishi would give to everybody seeking counsel. He would say, trace the mind to its source. No, Vandavari po. That is, you have to draw back, go to the source. What is the source? And that, of course, is easier said than done. And what is that source? What is the goal of Jnana Yoga? Also, Maharishi has said is Manaha Swasthata. That is Sadbhava Susthitihi. In other words, Atmani Eva Atmana Tushtaha. That is steady abidance of the mind in the Atma Swarupaha is the ultimate goal of Jnana Yoga. And that steady abidance was compared to that flame in the Bhagavad Gita. Yatha dipo nivatastaha nendate sopamasmita yogino yata chittasya yunjato yogamatmanaha. So when the mind abides in the Atma Swarupaha, like a flame in a windless spot, that is the purpose of this self-inquiry. And that can happen only in stages. As Krishna has again said, Shanai Shanai Ruparame Buddhya Dhriti Grihitaya Atma Samstam Manah Kritva Nakinchidapi Chintayet Yato Yato Nischarati Tatastato Niyam Yetad. So Shanaihi, gradually, systematically, Buddhya Grihitaya. That is with the intellect. Intellect, we have to master the mind. Remember the chariot analogy in the Katha Upanishad? The buddhi was compared to the sarathi, the charioteer. The charioteer is holding the reins of the mind. Yeah, the reins of the mind, and the reins of the chariot is the deha, and the jiva is seated. So the intellect is always advising, get up in the morning, practice yoga, do some bhajanam, yeah, and come to satsangas. But the mind is, the emotional mind will resist. Yeah, it will resist, and there will be a tug of war. So that is why Krishna says buddhya grihitaya. Yeah. the manaha, the mind should be held firmly with the vijnanavan buddhi, the buddhi that is informed and alert, like the parent, and the emotional mind is like the child. So that is the process of self-inquiry, that whenever the mind wanders away, then we have to find the right sadhana to bring it back to that one pointed focus. Okay. So that is why all the previous sadhanas are very necessary, very useful, but they are only the means to quieten and purify the mind. But the direct path is self-inquiry, Atma, Anatma, Viveka. Just like when we prune the branches of our trees and bushes, they will come back again. But when we uproot the samsara vrikshaha, there is no chance of return. So that is what in that shloka verse we saw, Bhagavan said, Punaha bhavati, the mind will return after a phase of purification. Yeah, but jnanasina asanga shastrena dhidena chitva, it will not return. Krishna has said, once we address the root cause of samsara, which is avidya. And how can that be addressed? Self-knowledge. And self-knowledge is gained by Arjava Marga, path of self-inquiry. But for that, we have to be ready. And we make ourselves ready through the preparatory sadhanas, that we saw earlier. Now, does that mean that, I just sit in a corner and then I dwell upon who am I? Who am I? Who am I? No? Then we are trying to arrive at the answer with our own mind, which is not possible. Yeah. So in this Upadesha Saaram, even though it is not explicitly mentioned, we have to fill in the blanks. That is what Guru Upadeshena. That is the marga of inquiry is through Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam, with the Guru unfolding the Upadesha. Upanishads have also said, Acharyavan Purusham Veda. Saha Gurumevadi Gachet Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam Samitpanihi. Mundaka Upanishad. That is, may one approach a sampradaya with live Guru and start the systematic, consistent Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam. Then what will happen? Atmavit Shokam Tarati. Only then we can go beyond the sorrow. So that is a very important point here, that without an acharya, without the grace of a Guru Parampara, we cannot follow the inquiry on our own. Even Shankaracharya gives that caution, Swatantriyena Shravanam Mananam Vicharam na kuryat. Never attempt to study Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, Vedanta Shastras, or inquiry on your own. Yeah. Then if one argues, Ramana Maharishi did not have a guru, Mirabai did not have a guru, Tyagaraja Swami did not have a guru. Yes, you're right. They all did not have gurus in this janma. Okay. But this was their last janma, and they must have had a guru in some previous janma. And because they are so advanced, they are noble exceptions. We cannot quote them. And this rule is for the majority. So the noble exceptions, they are like, it's called Yoga Brashta, the last janma. And then their own inner guru was guiding them, on this path of self-inquiry. So that is an important point to be noted. That is, the role of the guru and acharya is inevitable for moksha prapti. Then we saw Bhagavan Maharishi says, and then with this Eka Chintanam, this one-pointed focus, what will happen? Mano Nashaha. Yeah, and Mano Nashaha is again subject to a lot of confusion. It's a very intense word and it can be intimidating to some people. If a seeker, thinks that, oh, if I go on this path seeking moksha, then the mind will be destroyed. Then the person will not come to this marga at all. So we have to understand that word Mano Nashaha in the proper context. Yeah. So what is being destroyed? Ajnanam. The confused, the superficial, the mind that is clouded with rajas and tamas, the subjective mind is destroyed. Subjective mind means we are looking at the world situations with our own distorted mind, like Arjuna. Now, remember in the first chapter, how Arjuna argues about dharma with Sri Krishna, and Sri Krishna remains quiet the whole chapter. Yeah, so Arjuna's mind is clouded with tamas, moha, attachments. And he's not able to see the clear, the truth of the fact that it's a Kshatriya dharma and he has to perform it. So then it took 17 chapters for Krishna to remove all that, clouds of tamas and rajas. And so then the clarity came. So when you say mano nashaha, that is being destroyed. The rajasic, tamasic mind that perceives erroneously. You perceived a snake on the rope, then with more light, the snake perception went away, the rope was discovered. That is the correct perception, that is knowledge. So the functional, objective mind will continue. It is not destroyed. Mind is a beautiful sattvic antakaranam, and we are going to use it for everyday life, for all the perceptions. So the subjective functional mind continues, but the objective mind continues, and the subjective, confused, erroneous mind perception is destroyed. Okay, that is, again, I wanted to clarify that word, mano nashaha. So with the clear mind, I will be able to view the world objectively as they are. I can view my family, my possessions, my job, my role playing, everything very objectively. But if I mix up the two, Atma, Anatma, so a mind that has expectations, attachments, demands, and there is confusion, then that is a subjective mind, Ajnani mind. So this path of inquiry is going to remove that erroneous perceptions. Then we saw that shloka where this jnani was described. Nashtamanasa utkrishta yoginaha krityam astikim swastitim manaha. So this jnani who has pursued this path of inquiry and achieved this mano nashaha, he is an exalted yogi, utkrishta yogi. Is there anything left for him to do? The answer is no, because he is the fulfilled bhakta. And Ramana Maharishi says, this is the Uttama Bhakti. This is the Parama Bhakti. Yeah, where he is fulfilled because there is no more inner compulsion, inner pressure, and he does not desire to be something different. He sees the whole world as himself. A samsari, what will the samsari's perception be like? I am in the world. But the jnani's perception will be, the world is in me. There is a, big change there. So what remains to be done? Nothing. He has achieved all that has to be done. With the Parama Purushartha, at one stroke, he's completed the whole to-do list is cancelled. Nothing remains for him to do. So that was the jnani there. Then, okay, Mano Nasha, but how to do this Mano Nashaha? We saw in that shloka number 17. No, 16. So 16 onwards, 16 up to 20 is very intense portion of Upadesha Saaram. In fact, it's called the Saaram of Upadesha Saaram. Okay. So it is the core content and pure Vedanta or essence of the Upanishads. So let's chant that verse again. Drishyavaritam chittamatmanaha chitvadarshanam tatvadarshanam. So here Bhagavan says, Drishyavaritam chittam atmanaha. So part of self-inquiry, what is done is atmanaha chittam. That is, one's own mind is varitam. Varita means withdrawn. Withdrawn from what? Drishya prapancha. Drishya prapancha is the world, the seen world. And such a mind gains what? Chittva darshanam, that is Atma darshanam, and that is the same as Tattva darshanam. Tattva darshanam is the truth. Very small words. No? Now, how can we withdraw the mind from objects in the world? So obviously, this is not to be literally understood. I turn away from the world. No. It is meant figuratively as withdrawing the chittam from the nama rupa jagat. You take anything in the world, a person, or you take this flower. Yeah? This flower is consciousness or sat plus namarupa, right? Any person, you take your son, your daughter, or any your pet animal, anything, any object in the world will be what? Awareness, consciousness plus namarupa. Now, if you minus the namarupa, what is left? Awareness. Awareness is left, the content. So that is the content of every namarupa in the world is consciousness. Yeah. So nama rupa, is it not a superimposed value upon sat? Yeah. So here Ramana Maharishi says Drishya Varita means let us pay attention to the content, the Atma of a nama rupa, and not just the superficial nama rupa, names and forms. For example, what is the content of a tree? Tree-ness. The Atma of the tree is tree-ness. No? So, like the familiar examples, you take a pot. What is the Atma of the pot? Clay pot, if it is a clay pot. Yeah. And the Atma of all the ornaments is gold. Yeah. So, here it is said that let us have that Sukshma Drishti to have gold Drishti, clay Drishti, water Drishti, wood Drishti. Then we will understand that all the furnitures, sofa, cupboards, and whatever made of wood are namarupa. All the ornaments, bracelets, anklets, kundalams are all forms and names made out of gold. Gold is the essential stuff. So familiar examples, we've seen it many times before. The waves, I can say I see waves, or I can see water. Water is the content. So, to conclude that shloka, seeing the whole Jagat, Jagat is filled with infinite Namarupas. But what is the content and Atma of the Jagat? Is the Jagat Karanam Ishra. So, seeing the Jagat as Mithya. Now, Mithya, the word is explained as Sat Asadbhyam Anirvachaniya iti Mithya. Mithya is that which temporarily exists, experientially exists. We do experience the table, right? I'm using a table right now. We experience all the Namarupas, in the world. But on inquiry, we are in the path of inquiry now. When you inquire into, a pot or a flower, you see that flower cannot exist independently of the Sat, right? The table cannot exist independently of wood. Yeah? So Mithya is all that is visible, tangible, Namarupas, but they all are dependent on its Karanam and on its Karanam. So that is why they are Mithya and they cannot be given an independent status. Yeah? So that is the point to be noticed here, that what is the content and Atma of the whole Jagat then? Satyam Brahma. Satyam Brahma. So that Satyam Brahma is Atma. So that is what is meant by Drishya Varitam Chittam Atmanaha. May one withdraw the mind from the Namarupa understanding and probe deeper through inquiry into its Karanam. Its Karanam and that which has an independent status. Yeah. And what is the only thing that is independently existing? Atma Brahma. Everything else is what? Mithya. It is arriving and departing. Names and forms. Sometimes they are manifest and then they go back to unmanifest. You take the simple example of the flower. Flower will be there for a few hours and then the Namarupa will collapse into the unmanifest. And it is with Sat, then another flower comes back. And so the whole Jagat is an appearance, is a manifestation on the Sat aspect. Then we came to 17th. Let us chant the 17th. It's a very crucial verse again. There, we are doing the inquiry into the mind itself. Can the mind be also called Mithya? This shloka is going to tell us. Manasam tu kim margane krite Manasam marga arjava. So Manasam tu kim margane krite. Margane krite means when I do the inquiry. When inquiry is done, margane krite, what kind of inquiry? Manasam tu kim? What is the nature of the mind? Is the mind really there? Then what is the answer? Na eva manasam. There is no mind. It's the same thing as at manonasha. There is no mind. And this is marga arjava. Arjava means straightforward. So this is the direct path of inquiry. Okay. Now again, how can you say there is no mind? Yeah, there is the mind we're using even right now, unless you're sleeping. Okay, so when we are awake, we are all using the mind in Shravadam, in Mananam, in role playing, in Vyavahara, transactions. Mind is used everywhere. So when this inquiry happens, how can Bhagavan Ramana say there is no mind? Yeah. So you see, did we ever question in life that there is no mind? In the schools and college and university, whatever we studied, was there ever a subject called mastery of the mind, inquiry into the mind, negation of the mind? Unless you had psychology as a subject, maybe some little bit will come there. The thing is, we were studying Aparavidya. Aparavidya is we applied the mind to botany, physics, and management, and all these various subjects. Now we are in Paravidya. In Paravidya alone, we inquire into the nature of the mind. Yeah. And so, how do we do this inquiry? This inquiry is done by the Sakshi Bhava. Now, the mind, right now we are all in the Jagrat Avastha, right? Jagrat Avastha, we are very much using the mind. We're using the mind to understand these verses. We're using the mind to watch on the Zoom screen. Yeah, so many actions are happening. Then after a few hours of the waking world, the mind is tired and it goes to sleep. Then a different mind comes, the dream. The dream mind arises. Again, there are dream transactions and dream vyavahara. Then again, one is tired there. Then finally, what happens to the mind? Sleeps. We have the sleeping mind, the sleeper, that's called prajna. Then next morning, again, it returns. The waking world mind returns. Then again, there is a dreamer mind, then again, sleeper mind. Yeah? So we can clearly see that the mind is also arriving and departing like this flower. Every day, we go through the cycles of the three avasthas. And so, can I be the mind then? Am I the mind or am I the observer of the mind? Sakshi. I'm avasthatraya Sakshi. I use the mind for cognitions, perceptions, interpretations. Yeah, but I cannot be the mind because the mind is also arriving and departing. Just like the Jagat, just like anything in the Jagat, any Nama Rupa. So now the conclusion is that the mind is also Mithya. It is Mithya appearance. Remember Kaivalya Upanishad, when we studied that, when Brahmadeva has completed the Upadesha and he asks the student Ashvalayana to express his understanding. Then in the mantra 19, I think, Ashvalayana says, no, Mayi eva sarva sakalam jatam, Mayi eva sarvam pratishchitam, Mayi eva layam yati. Tat Brahma aham. So he tells his guru, what I've learned from you is, I am indeed that Brahma Tattvam in which everything appears which sustains everything, into which everything returns, including the mind. Yeah. So that means what? The mind is also subject to arrival and departure. So it is not constant. But what is constant? Even when the mind was sleeping in deep sleep, were you there or not? How can you say you were there? You were sleeping. Because next morning you say, I had a good sleep. I slept well. I do not know where I was, so I continued. Which I is that? It is the aham, aham. We're going to come to that. Huh? So the conclusion here is that even the mind, can I understand that the mind is born every morning as the waker, then it sleeps every night, then it is born again. Yeah. But what is the adhara, adhisthana for the mind? What gives birth to the mind? What sustains it? And what receives it when it goes back? Atma. Avasthatraya Sakshi. No? So now it is very clear that this is the Manasa Vichara we are doing. So Manasa Vichara is inquiring into Ahankara, and Ahankara Vichara is bringing us to Atma Vichara. Remember that story of the wedding? Village wedding? Yeah, the stranger who mixed, in the wedding proceedings, but he was not connected with the bride or the groom. But the moment the elders started probing, that vichara happened, he disappeared. No? So that is the same thing here. When we inquire into the nature of the mind, we find that the mind has no independent status. The mind is coming and going. It is a tool. Yeah, that is what Bhagavan mentions as naiva manasam. It is not that the mind is, destroyed, switched off. No, the mind is understood as mithya, a temporary status, and just as by inquiry into the pot, remember the pot, when I inquire into the pot, what happens? We can say pot disappears. How will it disappear? Because clay alone is there. Pot is just a name for the form made of clay, right? So clay is the real stuff. Pot is just a concept in your mind. So a student of Vedanta will say, no, there is no substance called pot. There is no second entity called pot. Clay alone is there. So even the mind appears and disappears is very useful. Yeah, but there is no mind, we can say. Why? Because what is really there is consciousness. And consciousness manifests as the mind in the waking hours, and then the mind folds back. Then another way to understand this naiva manasam, there is no mind, is, remember our Tattva Bodha lessons, how was the subtle body, the mind defined in Tattva Bodha? Made of 17 principles, intelligently put together. It is Sukha Dukkha Sadhanam. It is meant to experience Sukham and Dukkham. Yeah. And 17 principles. So the mind is so intelligently put together by the three gunas of the Pancha Mahabhutas, which were manifested by the Maya Shakti. Right? So it is a product. The mind is created, Karyam. Then the Maya Shakti is the power of Brahma. And so Maya is also not independent. It rests with Brahman. And Brahman is the only independently existing Tattvam. So when we say Naiva Manasam, Naiva Jagat, Jagat is not there. We have to understand them as Mithya. So temporarily, experientially available. Yes. The literally meaning, that is mind is destroyed. No, we don't take that meaning. That is the erroneous perception that the world is real, that I am the mind, that is gone for this jnani. So, but the functional mind will continue. Functional mind will continue and to see the world as it is. So, yeah, so you see this direct path, it is meant for Only the Uttama Adhikaris. You all are Uttama Adhikaris. Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampanna Adhikaris. Those who are ready for addressing the core root issue, avidya. Only they will be eligible for this inquiry. So that is why there is a gradation. We all have to go through the preparatory sadhanas, get the jnana yogyata, and then come to the jnana marga. So that is the direct path. Now let us go to 18th shloka, which is again a very, very profound shloka. You can repeat after me. Vrittayastvaham vrittimashritah. Vrittayastvaham vrittimashritah. Vrittayo manaha vidyaham manaha. Vrittayo mano vidyaham manaha. Together. Vrittayastvaham vrittayo mano. So here, Bhagavan says, Vrittayaha tu aham vrittim ashritaha. Okay. Vrittayaha tu aham vrittim ashritaha. Vrittayaha manaha vidhi aham manaha. Now, what is vritti? Vritti is a thought, yeah, a thought wave. Like I showed you the flower, right? Now, the external flower, yeah, is perceived as a flower vritti or thought in my mind. That is a vritti. So, vritti is a wave which arises in the mind. That we have to know. Now, vrittayaha tu aham vrittim ashritaha. So let's take the second line first. Vrittayaha manaha vidhi aham manaha. Now, when you say, what is the mind? Many acharyas, what they will say, the mind is nothing but a bundle of thoughts. It is a thought producing machine. The moment we get up in the morning, we have thoughts, isn't it? Today is Tuesday. I have to go to the bank. Yeah, I have to do the laundry. What shall I cook for breakfast and lunch and dinner? So many thoughts are continuously bombarding the mind. Yeah. But then all these thoughts are as good as the mind. So that's why the second line, Vrittayaha manaha. The mind is but a collection, bundle of thoughts. Okay. So here, Vidhi aham manaha. Now, before we go to the other words, these thoughts in our mind, they are broadly classified into two sections. One is the idam vritti. Now, idam in Sanskrit means this. Yeah. So when I say this is a table, this is Padma, today is Tuesday, this is my mobile. Yeah. This is all called idam, 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 idam. My daughter, son, this is a mic, this is flower, yeah, this is a garden, this is a dog. Idam, 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 idam. But now, this idam depends on what? Aham. So the other category, one category is idam, vrittis, okay, thoughts of objects of the world. But the thoughts can only arise when there is a aham. So aham is the I notion, also called ego or ahankara, yeah, aham. So only when there is a aham can I say this is a table. Yeah, I recognize you as Padma. And oh, today it is Tuesday. There is a Zoom session. So aham and idam will always be together in the sentient conscious mind. Now look at the verse. Vrittayaha tu aham vrittim ashritaha. So all the idam thoughts in the mind, they are ashritaha, means dependent, connected with aham vritti. Yeah, aham vritti is that individual. Yeah, the one who's talking right now and the one who's listening to all this, there is an aham, right? So are you clear about these two vrittis? One is the aham vritti, is the I notion, the individual. And for that individual, there will be lot of idam vrittis. My father, my children, my husband, wife, yeah, this world. That is the whole line. Vrittayaha tu aham vrittim ashritaha. So all these thoughts of anything in the world will be dependent on the perceiver. Yeah, that is the aham vritti. And aham is the ahankara, the knower, the seer, and the karta, bhokta, ahankara, the one who is the doer. Okay, we have to be clear about these two kind of vrittis. Okay, like when I right now, my perception, I am sitting on the chair. Which is idam vritti here? Chair, right? I am sitting on the chair. So aham vritti is there as I, and the action on the chair is idam vritti. So together, this is called a cognition or perception in the mind. So that is the two. Now, if you inquire into this I, yeah, when you say I, supposing I tell, Mayura, you introduce yourself, what will your answer be? Your autobiography, you will introduce yourself in a few words, like I am a native of Telangana. Yeah, I am a parent of 2 children. I am retired, or I am a graduate or postgraduate. So many such notions would be there. So whatever I understand as myself, my notions, my conclusions about myself will all be included in aham. I am talented. I sing well. Yeah. I know French. I am ignorant. I am foolish at times. Yeah. I am wise mostly. Yeah. I am a punctual student. I live in Coimbatore. Yeah. I'm a student of Gita and student of Vedanta. I. Who is this I? Aham. This is the aham vritti. This is my autobiography, right? But where did this I come from? Did it come from the Shastra, Mundaka Upanishad, Bhagavad Gita? No. Where did it come from? From the world, right? When I was born, Namakaranam was done. I got a name, then Gotram, then Nakshatram. Then I went to all these grades, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade. Then comparing, contrasting, I learned to define myself. I'm fair and dark and tall and short. And then, I'm working as this engineer, doctor. And then I became a parent and grandparent, senior citizen. All these labels and definitions are, from the world we have gathered, from all the institutions we've been to. Now the Shastra, what does the Shastra say? How do they define you? They say, Tattvamasi. Yeah, Satchit Ananda Swarupaha Tvam. Yeah, you are not this Anatma I. You are not the I defined by the limited body, mind, sense centered I. You are much more than that. You are limitless, Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Brahma. But I have all these opinions and these conclusions about myself. So you see, there is a Anatma Aham. Anatma Aham is a transactional, person who transacts in the world. And that Anatma Aham will have a ID, voter's ID, passport, Aadhaar card, PAN card. All this is Anatma I, right? But only Satsanga and Shastra and Guru and Acharya will give us, the complete infinite I. Yeah, and that I is to be arrived at. And Ramana Bhagavan calls it Aham Aham. It is the Aham of Aham. Okay, so now what are we doing? We did Manasa Vichara and came to the conclusion that mind is mithya. Now, in the mind, there is the I notion. We have seen this before, right? When the mind is Sentient because of Atma. And in that mind, sentient conscious mind, there will be the notion of I. I am so and so. I am the wife, husband, son, daughter. Yeah. And all these notions are arising. This is called Anatma I, or the empirical I, transactional I, or Ahankara, Karta, Bhokta, Jivaha. This is my conclusion. Now, if the question is asked, what is the problem with this Anatma I? Why is the Shastra always attacking this Anatma I? The answer is Anatma I will be dependent on the finite, limited body, mind, sense complex, right? So all the time, what will I be doing? What will this I, Ahankara, do? It will try to become more beautiful, stay young forever through rejuvenation therapies, become the wealthiest person. I want to be more intelligent. I want to acquire more possessions. More. I want permanent happiness and security, but through the limited Anatma I. Is it possible? No, definitely not possible. No? Limited means karma cannot give the infinite peace and happiness that one is seeking. So, there will be always a sense of inadequacy, want, incompleteness centered on this Anatma, body and mind. Always something will be irritating, something will be lacking. There will be continued struggle, some expectation, some demand will be there. So then what should I do? I have to let go of the Anatma I, the limited notions. The ego has to go. And that is why we are employing the Arjava Margam, direct path of self-inquiry. So this shloka actually says that Vrittayaha tu aham vrittim ashritaha. All the thoughts are connected with aham thought. Aham has to be there first. So when I wake up in the morning, what is the first thing that happens in the mind? Aham. Right? Assuming we get up at 4:30 or 5, So from that deep sleep, that I will return, aham. Then that aham will start recognizing, oh, this is my bedroom. Yeah, this is 2024. We are all forgetting, which day and which year. Because that aham is suffering from memory loss. Yeah. So the aham will try to think, oh, today is Tuesday. I have to go to the bank. I have this meeting. Yeah. All these things will return to the aham. So, but first aham has to be there, and then only idams will come. Lot of idams. I'm hungry, I'm thirsty, I have to cook and this and that. So aham and idam are together. Now, what are we doing in the path of inquiry is, even that aham has to become idam. What does that mean? I have to watch this aham. Yeah, this I that is playing all the roles, that is getting into, messy situations, that is bargaining with this auto fellow and which is going shopping. So we watch through the method of inquiry is simply to watch. But that is such a great sadhana. Can we sit still and simply watch? Quite difficult. Yeah. So that is the path here, that by watching, we understand that how this ahamkara is driving us, from one thing to the next. Yeah. Now, if it is a duty or responsibility, definitely we have to do it, and ahamkara will be involved. Yeah, aham and idam. Now, if we ask, where did this ego come from? This deeply entrenched ahamkara, is it from this janma? From birth onwards? It's from thousands, if not millions of past births that this ahankara, anatma, aham has solidified and become very, very entrenched. Yeah. Now, we never questioned before in life, is it? What is the nature of the mind? Does the mind really exist? Now, having come to Vedanta, we are inquiring into the nature of the mind. Why? Because we are ready for it. We worked for it. We have done the sadhanas, and now, as this mature adhikari, we are ready to, address the source and the root of ahankara. So basically, this Arjava Marga, also called Ramana Marga, is about tracing this ahankara back to its root and source. And what is that source? Atma Brahma. So from that Atma Brahma, which was in deep sleep, that's why this deep sleep is a very happy experience for everybody, isn't it? Because we have dropped the notions and conclusions about me, about the world. The world is switched off. Time and space is not there. I also am sleeping. The individual Anatma I has gone to sleep. So there is no conflict, no pain, no struggle, no samsara, consciousness. But then from that consciousness, the I emerges. Next morning, ahankara, and then carries on the karma for the day, and then folds back into sleep again. So who am I really? Am I this ahankara who is playing all the roles? No. Now, Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi is going to talk about what you can observe and watch. How can you be that? You are the observer. You are not the mind. You are not the ahankara, which is so active. So this is the path of viveka and neti neti. Neti neti is not this, not that. I am not the mind. I am not this idam vrittis. I am not even the aham vritti, this ahankara. Then who am I? And that is the Atma Brahma. Let's chant the next verse also, 19th. Ahamayam kuto bhavati chinvataha. Ahamayam kuto bhavati chinvataha. Aipatatyaham nija vicharanam. Together. Ahamayam kuto bhavati chinvataha. Yeah. So the 19th shloka, so I have this to display. So here, Maharishi says, Aham ayam kutaha bhavati chinvataha. Chinvataha is ayam. Ayam means referring to what? Ahankara. Exactly. Ayam. Ayam means this. Yeah. Yeah. This aham vritti. Okay. This anatma aham. Aham ayam. Kutaha bhavati chinvataha. Chinvataha means Shashti. For the one who is doing Atma Chintanam. Chinvataha, for the one who is doing Vichara. Where, what kind of Vichara? Ayam, aham, kutaha bhavati. Where does it rise from? That is the inquiry. Then what will happen? What will be the answer? Ayi patati aham. Ayi means like our ayo. Ayi means are. You do inquiry and this is what is going to happen. So it's a sambodhana. Ayo. What will happen to anatma aham? Patati. Patati means it will be negated. It drops. Yeah. It drops because there is nija vicharanam. Nija means atma. So atma vichara when we do, then the notion of this individual notion, this ahankara notion will also drop. How will it drop? Because it is only a thought. So I have identified myself with the body and mind. That is also a thought, Shastra says. Yeah. So can I watch the mind and see the interplay between aham and idam? I feel I'm responsible to save the world. Watch the two. Watch your aham. claiming this and watch idams. Yeah. So then you will find that both are mithya. Aham and idam are rising together in the waking world and subsiding in the deep sleep. But who are you? You are avasthatraya sakshi. You are the invariable constant. So this path of inquiry, watching, will result in what? Result in that understanding of the being. There is a being, there is a presence which is self-evident, self-shining, original consciousness, OC, which never does anything. Did the OC come to crest today or RC? Ahankara came to the crest. Ahankara argued with the auto fellow. He said he was in a traffic jam and then came to OC is Akarta Abhokta, Sakshi. So here, in fact, Puja Swamiji, would call this Ahankara as the villain. In this drama of the life, who is the villain and the imposter who is masquerading all the time? Sometimes confused Ahankara is there, and role-playing Ahankara is there, agitated Ahankara, proud, arrogant Ahankara. That's the villain. And in fact, Swamiji would dramatize this Ahankara in class before us. He would say, you take any movie scene, any Bollywood movie. Generally, there will be a stunt scene between the hero and the villain, right? Lot of dishums. And then they will both fall at one time. Then Swamiji look around, there's silence. Suddenly, the villain will get up. And again, there will be a bout of dishum. Again, they will lie down. Then one will get up. There'll be a combat will continue. Like that, our Ahankara is constantly busy. Do this, do that, and constantly keeping us in a hectic pace of life until we come to the direct path. So here, this is the path of witnessing, Sakshi Bhava. How this aham is also a thought. It is a thought which is identified with the current body and mind. But we have just seen that the body is mithya, mind is mithya, ahankara is also mithya. And all of them, they appear in consciousness or born of consciousness, sustained by consciousness, and return to consciousness for the day. Then again, next morning, they are back. So then, if I'm identified with the ahankara, which is identified with the anatma bodies, am I not settling for a finite, limited life? That is the direct path here. So we have to objectify aham also. Aham is to be watched. Yeah. Then Chinmayananda will give that example, that you take a naughty child. Initially the mother will punish it and make it stand or, whatever. But if the mother simply watches the child for 10 minutes, then what will the child think? Oh, I have done some mischief. Mama is watching. I better behave, right? So a watched child, it will be a peaceful child generally, right? She doesn't even have to argue and say, come on, don't play with the phone, come on, have your lunch. No, she just watches. And in that gaze, the child will get the message. So the Sakshi Bhava, this path of inquiry is, can I also have a steady gazing and witness the rise of Ahankara and how it gets involved with all the idam vrittis in the world, yeah, and be the Sakshi of both. That is the idea here. This is called awareness meditation. So finally what? So you see in the pujas, in a puja, we are using all the karanas, right? We use the body, we use the vocal organs in chanting praises, and we use the mind. Then in japa, we're using mind and vocal cords. In dhyana, we're using only the mind. And in the Sakshi Bhava, path of inquiry, not even the mind. So we are simply being, simply being and watching. Yeah? But to simply be and watch without getting distracted, without wanting to get up and walk away, is the challenge. So that is why all the earlier preparatory sadhanas Ramana Maharishi has mentioned help in purifying the mind, making it one-pointed, so that I can have a Sakshi Bhava in life. Okay. And to conclude with the analogy of the Ramayana, you all know the Ramayana. At the end, how Sri Rama tries to, kill, do Ravana Vadham, but the heads keep appearing. And that is again symbolic of the Ahamkara appearing in some form or the other. Or the Rakta Bija story in, Devi Mahatmya. How the demons keep appearing. Then finally, what does Sri Rama do? Brahmastram, right? He aims at the navel, and that is the Brahmastram, and then he falls, Ravana, and that Samsara Vriksha is uprooted only by the Brahmastram. And Brahmastram is Tattvamasi Mahavakya, or as here, the path of inquiry. So only by inquiring into the source and the root of Ahamkara and understanding the vision of Satyam Brahma and Jagat Mithya will one be free from the samsara permanently, and there will be moksha prapti. And all other sadhanas that we do in life, go on a yatra, yajna, dhanam, tapas, they're all no doubt very good, but they are pavanani manishinam. They are meant for purification. But then we have to come to the final portion, that is to inquire into the root and source of ahankara. So we'll stop here for now. Om Swasti Prajabhya Paripalayam Nyayena Margena Mahi Mahishaha Go Brahmanebhya Shubhamastu Nityam Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu Kale Varshatu Parjanyaha Prithvi Sasyashalini Deshoyam Shobharahitaha Brahmana Santu Nirbhayaha Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayaha Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritangamaya Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om